Hello everyone, welcome back. Well, today we're taking a look at 4 different 100% cotton watercolor papers. 100% cotton is the best paper to use, but it's also very expensive. But there are 100% cotton papers out there that are fairly affordable. So let's take a look at 4 of them that are very different prices and see, is there any difference in quality? If you don't know me, my name is Teresa. I'm a surface pattern designer and watercolor artist. So let's take a look at these papers. All of the papers that we're going over today are 9 by 12, 140 pound cold press paper. And all of them except one are block paper. Now for price comparisons, I compared all block papers. So that would be apples to apples. So I purchased all these papers except for one. The Kilimanjaro I received after I placed a really large art supply order 2 or 3 years ago. And I've held on to it ever since then and never even tried it. So I threw it in with this as well. But that's why that one's loose leaf. And just for full disclosure, I did not pay for it, but also they're not involved in this comparison at all. They did not gift this paper to me for the comparison or anything like that. So just wanted to be clear about that. Now, so the other papers are Art Beak, Legion Stonehenge Aqua, and my Saunders Waterford that I always use as my 100%. So I threw that in there just because I do like that paper and I wanted to see how it compared to these others. I picked Art Beak because I've been hearing a lot about this lately. There are a few artists that I follow on Instagram who use it and really love it, so I thought that would be a good one for us to try out. Legion, that's an all-time, standard, really good, high quality paper. So I wanted to do that one. Now, there is one thing about the Kilimanjaro paper that I found interesting. On the label it says long grain. Well, I didn't know what that meant. So I did a little research and found out that that refers to cotton rag. So it is 100% cotton, but it's a cotton rag, whereas most other 100% cotton papers are made from cotton linter or a combination of cotton linter and rag. The difference being the cotton rag is a longer fiber and the linter is a shorter fiber. So the long grain is really a little more durable, evidently, as opposed to the shorter one. But I don't think that's here nor there. It's still 100% cotton. But I did want to tell you, in case you ever see that long grain, that's what it's referring to as rag rather than linter. And if you like to decal your own paper, supposedly rag is easier to decal if you do that. So let's take a look at each sheet and see what differences we can find before we start painting. So looking at the prices very quickly, Art Beak is $19.99 for 32 sheets, which I love that it comes in a larger pad like that, or a larger block like that with 32, that's a lot. So that works out to only 62 cents a sheet. Very nice. The Kilimanjaro is $29.99 for a 20 sheet block, and that's $1.49. The Legion Stonehenge Aqua is $21.43, but that's only 15 in a block, and that's $1.43 per sheet. And then the Saunders Waterford is $33.09 for 20 sheets. That's $1.65 per sheet. So if you compare that to the Art Beak, that's a huge difference. Now, just so you know, all of these prices came from Amazon except the Kilimanjaro. I could not find Kilimanjaro on Amazon, so I went to Cheap Joe's to get that price. Okay, just looking at these while they're still on the block, what I like about Art Beak is that it came with 2 protective cover sheets over the top, and these were glued down. I just peeled them off so that we could look at it. And I really appreciate that because it does protect that top sheet. And I love the fact that this is very textured. I love textured paper, and it's fairly white. I like that. The Kilimanjaro is a nice thick paper. It's not as textured, and it's a little brighter white. I love bright white paper, so I'm really liking that. The Stonehenge Aqua Cold Press, very white. It's not as much texture. Let's compare. I would say a similar texture to the Kilimanjaro, and it's very white like the Kilimanjaro, a tad whiter even, and they're both whiter than the Art Beak. Then the Saunders Waterford, it's fairly textured. It's more of a natural white, which that's the thing I'm not real crazy about with the Saunders Waterford. I love it, it's a great paper, but the color. And it does come in bright white, but the only way I have found it is in large sheets. And that's just hard for me to store. I know it's probably more economical to buy it in the large sheets and cut it down, but I don't like dealing with that. Maybe one day I will, but right now I just like the convenience of having a block or a pad. The first thing I want to do is just get an idea about how well the paint is going to absorb into the paper. So I'm just going to do a few little swatches and watch it absorb. Okay, that did very well. Let's try the Kilimanjaro. That did well, but there is a little bit of color variation where it's not soaking in quite the same. Pretty close. I need to swap places. I might not have had as much pigment on my brush as that one. For that one, I'm gonna do it again. And now I might have had too much. That's not soaking in very well. Okay, I did not actually dab my brush on that one, which I did dab my brush on these two. Okay, that's a little better. But it looks a little grainy on the legions. You know, it's like there are little speckles. You know, not here where I did not have as much water, and I had too much water here. There is really more consistent with these two, but there are still a few little speckles. Let's try Saunders. Okay, that is very similar to these two. It's just the legions that's looking a little different. Okay, let's try a different color. Let's try pink. And I think we'll just do a straight line for each of them. I'm not seeing much of a difference here. They all seem to be absorbing fairly well. Good coverage. Okay, I think they're very, very similar. Well, let's paint a picture. I'm not going to show you all 4 of the paintings while I'm painting them, just because I don't think there's anything to learn from watching all 4 of them. They all handled the paint basically the same way. I really couldn't tell one from the other. But I will show you one in a real fast speed, just for you to see it. Well, after I painted the 4 samples and saw that really there's not much difference as far as the brightness of the colors on the paper, the way that the pigment absorbs into the paper, there really just wasn't that much difference in all 4 of these, except for the art beak that warped pretty badly. So I thought, well, I don't know if that's because I took it off the block. You know, I guess it would do it with the pad, but with the block, I just felt like, maybe I need to give this a try. So I took 2 or 3 days and just used these papers exclusively, and just to try them out. You know, that's really the only way you're going to know for sure, is just start painting on them and give it several paintings, you know. And that's what I did, and I definitely walked away with a different perspective than I had at the end of just painting these. So the first thing I did is decide I'm going to paint with all the papers on the block, and I painted this on the art beak. It's beautiful colors. It did great with that. It handled beautifully. I left it on the block overnight to dry, which is a little extreme. I don't often have the ability to let something sit overnight like that, but it still warped a little bit. And as time went on, it started curling on the corners more than it did right after I took it off the block. So I was not happy with that. So then I painted something else, and I used a lot of water on it, and look how much that warped. I mean, that's crazy. You know, I definitely can't do my real loose florals on that paper. So I gave it one more try because I really wanted art beak to work. I really did. So I did one more, and it still warped more than what I think is acceptable. So art beak is out of the running for me. Then I painted something on the Kilimanjaro, and it did fine. It is a little bit warped, a little more than what I would say I'm used to with my Saunders, but this would not be a deal breaker for me. It's okay. And this was the loose leaf one, and I had to tape it down. That's the only difference between those. Then I did actually 2 on the Legion Stonehenge Aqua, and that's beautiful paper. I mean, it did not warp any more than the Saunders Waterford that I'm used to. See, I mean, that did fine. A little bit of warping, but you're gonna have that, just a little tiny bit. That was fine, but the deal breaker for me, for Legion, is the fact that I could not get it off the block. It was so thick. I guess the glue maybe is a little thicker, but I tore 2 pages trying to get it off the block. I was using a palette knife. I went slowly, and still I tore the corner of 2 pages individually. But so I will not buy Legion on a block. And maybe it's just that particular block that I have. I don't know. I've never heard anyone complain about that. But for me, that just knocks that out of the running. There are too many other papers out there to try. Then of course my Saunders Waterford. I did not repaint something for it because I have a gazillion paintings already on this paper. And just to show you, I mean, it does warp a little bit, but I do want to get a bright white paper. You know, playing with these all side by side, I just like the bright white. I like the way the colors pop. So I will continue my search for a bright white paper that is reasonable. The Saunders is just a little pricey for me to use every day. I really want to go and use 100% cotton every day. And that one to me is just a little too pricey to use for everyday practice. I'll stick with my Canson XL, which is a blend. I'll just stick with that for now for my everyday practice until I do find 100% cotton that I think is affordable to, and so that I don't have to feel guilty if I have to throw it away. So I hope, although we didn't have a woohoo moment, you know, with the clear winner, I hope that this was great information for you and that it will help you. But just keep in mind that these are my experiences and you may have a different experience. Thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate every minute that you watch my videos. It really helps me with the algorithm for every second you watch, and comment and like and subscribe. So thank you so much for all that you've done and that you continue to do for my channel to help it grow. And if there's something that you want to see specifically, then just leave me a comment and I'll get to work on it. And I'm still working on the video about composition. So that one's taking some research. I want to really touch on a few things. So look forward to that. I hope it's coming up real soon. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Hope to see you next week.